Hello! In this video I'm going to tell you all about the build of this 1968 Austin 600 weight van that we converted to electric for the Bangers and Cash Restoring Classics TV programme. So here's the finished article. The van is a wonderful thing to behold and looks fantastic. From the outside you would not be able to tell it was electric, and that was kind of the whole point. Its code name was Project X to ensure that Derek Matthewson didn't find out about it, so he could be surprised when given it to drive. He isn't known for his love of electric cars, so it was interesting to see his reaction. Whilst we're looking around the outside, I'll give you the specification. Let's start at the front and work our way backwards, eh? It's powered by a Nissan Leaf electric motor and inverter taken from a crash-damaged car. This is mated to the original gearbox using a custom billet aluminium adapter, which you'll see later on, and a coupler. The motor and inverter are cooled by a custom radiator that's mounted to the custom cradle that also mounts the battery box in the front. There's 3 battery boxes in the van, and each one holds 6 battery modules from a 40 kilowatt hour Nissan Leaf. These 18 modules give the van around 30 kilowatt hours of storage capacity, which is about enough for 100 miles range. When we pop the bonnet, you'll see the front battery box with our logo on it at the top. The other 2 battery boxes are under the load floor in the back of the van, which means no load space was lost, and the van looks completely stuck when you open the back doors, as you can see here. It's completely original, and we just put a new wooden floor across the top of it and stained it black. So yet again, another area where you wouldn't be able to tell that it was electric. As you can see, one thing that might give it away is that there's orange cables underneath, but we'll come on to those later on when we have a good look underneath it. Also inside there is the charging cables. As you can see, nothing else has been altered in the van. There's no sign of any of the electric stuff because we didn't have to do anything with the internals, but a wonderful condition, wonderful specification that it is. As you zoom in, well, as I crawl into the van, you'll see the front is exactly the same. There's very little changed in there, and again we'll come on to the little things that have changed. Eagle-eyed people amongst you might notice on the left-hand side under the passenger glove box there's a little bit of black metal. That's actually what we call the control center, which has all of the controls and fuses and main wiring in the car. So that's the only kind of thing in there, but you can't really see it and you don't really notice it when you're in the van. One thing you do notice, if you know where to look, is the charge port. So the charge port is a Type 2 charge port, and we've put it exactly where the fuel filler would have been, with a real simple cover on it, just so that then it was something else that would fool Derek as he was having a look around the car before he got in. Sorry, not the car, a van. Get myself too used to talking about cars. So here's where you can see different things. So that towards the back, that's the rear battery box, the black thing, and then that's the communication cable going in. So it sits behind the rear axle, exactly where the rear fuel tank would have sat before. And if we, as promised, pop inside and pop the bonnet, then we can have a look and I can show you what I was talking about before about the front battery box. There you can see the electronic pedal instead of the manual one, but it's in exactly the same place and mounted off the same bracketry. You lose the clutch, and we'll come on to talking a little bit about that later on in the video. So let's pop the bonnet. This is always difficult to do whilst filming with only one hand. So let's see if I manage to do it as we're doing that. Oh, we do. So there you go. That's the front battery box, which also holds a lot of the contactors, the DC-DC converters in there. We had to move the wiper across to the right a little bit to be able to get the box in, but we just made a custom bracket for that. Everything else is just the same in there. Nothing's being cut, drilled, welded. So you could actually take all of this out and put the petrol motor back in again, but then who would want to, really? Anyway, that possibility is still there if that was wanted to be done by somebody in the future. Standard battery position, standard battery. All electric cars need a 12-volt standard battery just so that then they can actually run the computers to be able to start, also run the headlights and the fans on the heater, all of those things. So that's why the original battery's still there. And apart from that, still got all of its original wiring and everything else in the car. So that's how the van ended up after we'd done the conversion, but the more interesting stuff is what happened during the conversion. So let's show you that. So this is the video I took when we got the van delivered to us, just going around and checking to see what the paintwork was like and what the bodywork was like. There was a few areas that had a little bit of surface rust. You can still see the exhaust exiting out to the driver's side on this. So this was really the first time, I'd like to say it was running and driving, but it was actually running. But as you probably saw on the TV program, it broke down the first time that we tried to drive it anywhere, which was quite amusing. So yeah, this is the kind of the walk around video of it as it literally got unloaded from the trailer when the guys brought it up for us to see it for the first ever time. You can see there's a few marks on the paintwork, nothing serious, it's just a little bit of kind of bubbled up surface rust. As you've just seen, it got a lot cleaner and it actually got full bodywork attention at the end of the project after we'd actually done the conversion. So there you can see on the back doors it was kind of like a little bit of blebbing, but I mean it wasn't the worst. It wasn't exactly show quality when it first arrived with us. Some of you might be wondering why it's an Austin 600 weight van instead of a Morris Minor van, which is really just badge engineering. Back in the day, Austin and Morris were two different companies when this was produced. So one had a version of the van, the Austin 600 weight, and the other one had the Morris Minor van. So this is just really checking around it before we took the engine out, so you can see it was really good under the bonnet. It ran, like I say, there was something up with it because it didn't drive for more than a little while before it packed up. The engine was kept with the van. I'm not exactly sure where that ended up. And like we've always said throughout all of our conversions, if you ever really wanted to, you could take out the electric conversion and put the engine back in again. All of the original wirings in there, all the original bracketry, everything, if you wanted to convert it back to being petrol. But then again, why would you? But then I suppose that's my bias. So here's the undershot, so up on the ramp, so you can see on the vans and the pickups in the Morris Minor world, they have a separate chassis. You'll notice when we do this again, when it's electric, that everything from the gearbox back over is exactly the same as it was in this instance, apart from a few wires going from the front battery box to the rear. So this is where we've taken the wooden floor out of the back of the van just to see where everything might fit. That's the original petrol tank that's in there. And again, when you see later on what we've done, that's where we've put some of the batteries too. So the next few minutes of the video is an actual original video that we sent to the Bangers and Cash team to suggest where we might put batteries in the van. We used some wooden forms that were to represent the size of the batteries just to get an idea and discuss things with them. So here we have the mock-ups of the battery boxes for the Austin 600 weight van, Morris Minor van. So as you can see, what I've done here at the back, this isn't where the battery box is going to go, but this is the actual mock-up of the size of 12 modules, of a 12 module case, and that's proposed to go where the fuel tank is. So it will actually sit between the two chassis rails and come down from below the car. So if it was kind of, if you can imagine, kind of sitting like that and below the car, that actually fits in that area. So if I put it under there, kind of gives you a bit of an idea. So this is the hardest part, one of the hard parts of conversions, is figuring out where all the batteries are going to go. So that 12 box fitting in the fuel tank works fuel tank area works really well. What we were trying to do is then we have to fit another 12 modules in, which we were looking at 2 packs of 4 underneath. So one on the right hand side of the vehicle and one on the left hand side under the floor. That would have left us with all of the floor, and I don't know if you can see it there, a pack of 2 underneath the seats. That, however, would mean that we have to modify the seats. I'll just take you around the front. So you can see that's the skeleton for the 2-pack, which fits there nicely. But then when you try and put the seat down, the seat falls on this side. It's okay on the other. So you'd have to we'd have to cut this bar out of the seat and then straighten it, which isn't too big a job, but these aren't the issue. That's just a bit of work, taking the cover off the actual seat and bringing this, instead of it pointing in over, to point straight, so that then it would sit down in that area around the battery box. But the biggest issue is this underfloor 4-pack, because as you can see the chassis kicks up there and means that it's really tight for that battery box, and I don't think it's really going to work. So what we are planning, what I would suggest that we do to get the full 24 modules in that we need, is actually two 12 packs. So the 12 pack in the fuel area, that as we originally proposed, and then another 12 there. So you would end up above the floor. It would take up a bit of the load space, but actually creates a bit of a bulkhead. Possibly make that one a little bit wider so it fills up the space, and then we can actually put some of the other control electronics in there as well. And then that would mean we don't have to put anything under the floor, anything under the seat. So all 24, we'd have 12 in the fuel tank area and another 12 in a sealed box. It would take up a bit of the load space, but it kind of creates a bulkhead. In the end, that's not what happened at all. That was just the first kind of few ideas. What we actually decided to do was put 6 of the modules where the rear fuel tank would have been, and 6 of the modules underneath the wooden floor, and then 6 of the modules under the bonnet. So nothing got put under the front seats at all. But I'll take you through that now and just explain to you where everything was going to go. So these are the bare back boxes. You can see that's the one that's going where the fuel tank would have gone. And then here on the bench is the middle box. This goes same in the floor, and that's it as it came to us from the laser cutters and fabricators. So these are the boxes painted and in with the modules in and the cabling. So you can see that that rear box holds 6, has some contactors in there, the cabling rests against the original cross member that goes in there. There's the actual battery charger, which is mounted externally because they are air cooled. And then this is the middle box, which has 6 in, 2 pairs at the front and 2 singles in the rear, and then there's a battery management system in there too. So this way meant that we ended up with 12 modules in the back, completely under the floor. When you see the van later on, you'll actually see that it's got, it doesn't look like anything's under the floor because we just put a new wooden panel in there. So that's where 12 of the modules went. And then our usual layout is 6 in the front. So there you can see the front battery box, which sits on top of the cradle. And now you've seen where the batteries are going in the car. Let's have a look at all the other components. This is the adapter plate that goes between the Leaf motor in the front and the standard Morris Minor gearbox. This is a thing of beauty. When we first got one made 5 years ago, we left it on the dining room table for quite a few weeks just because it's such a nice thing. Unfortunately, as you'll see, it gets kind of hidden away deep underneath the car, and you can't really see it once the conversion's finished. So that's why I'm showing you it in such detail. So there you go. This is actually one of our mock-up cars, and this was when we first started back in 2019. This is the motor, and you can see that adapter plate and the gearbox there. So this is us putting this in the car for the very first time. In fact, that's the actual adapter plate that sat on our dining table all those years ago. So that's it. That's how it fastens between the two. This is the motor in the car with the motor mounts mounting onto the same position as the originals did. In our early conversions, we used to use the tower mountings, but we found that these are better putting them flat. We then adapt the inverter. You can see it still uses the engine steady off the A series engine, and it has that cradle above the motor. It doesn't attach to the motor. The motor still moves around by itself on the mountains, but that's what the battery box attaches onto, as you can see here. It also contains the radiator that you can see down at the front. The front battery box contains a lot of the fuses, the contactors, and a lot of the control systems for the battery system as well. So here's the car without the steering wheel on, as you can see, as we're in the middle of starting to wire it up. That's what we call the control center that goes underneath the dashboard on the passenger side. It folds up out of the way so you can't see it, but gives easy access to all of the fuses and also the control system so that we can see if there's any issues with that. Here's the car from underneath. Sorry, I keep saying car, it's a van. As you can see on the right hand side, the big orange tube is where all the high voltage cable goes. The these are the battery boxes from underneath, so you can see the data connections. Orange cables always high voltage cable connections, and shows you how intricate and how detailed it is, getting the high voltage and the data cable and all around the vehicle. And from the front to the back of the vehicle, we have conduit on the right hand side, and it's all run through that original chassis. So there's no cutting, welding, drilling, or anything like that. So once this was all done, we're in a position where we could actually get it all to run. So here's what it looked like when the wheels span for the first time. Success. So then it was off for its first drive. Whilst we were out on that first drive, we heard some banging and clunking. So as we got back to the workshop, we could see that the axle was moving around on the leaf springs.
Just accelerate and decelerate.
So we sorted that, and then it was off for more test driving. This next part of the video shows you the introductory video that we sent to the Baggins and Cash team to show them how to actually use the van and drive it. So here's a quick start guide of how to operate the Austin electric van. So as you can see from the outside, it doesn't look any different to how it did when it was petrol, which is taking a lot of work really. Anyway, let's get ourselves inside. So door opens as it usually would. Everything inside is as it normally would be. We just squeeze ourselves in. Just pull the door through there. Oh no, I'll leave it open because then we get a little bit of light from the interior light. So Indicators are on the usual side. Yeah, the end will flash when it goes. Got the horn in the centre. For some reason, somebody put a switch on here to sound the horn. Down here is the direction control, so it's up for forward, middle is neutral, back is reverse. So generally, it's very light in here, we'll just leave it in fourth. So fourth gear is best, it'll pull away nicely. If you want to go really quick away from the line, you can do third gear. You can't change gear while you're moving, there's no clutch, it's a direct connection. So if you want to change gear, you need to stop, change gear and start again. Handbrake's in the usual position, exactly the same as it was before. So to start it, it's basically put the key in. Key was already in because I've only got one hand with the camera. Just turn it to the on position. You hear a big click from behind you, and you'll start to see that the fuel gauge will start to rise. Car at the moment, well, van at the moment, is charged to do 100%, so you'll see that rise all the way up to 100 slowly. It's the speed of the old gauge. Right, I'll start left to right. So here you've got your washers for the windscreen. That's a pump action one, it's not electric. And then you've got your wipers, which are 1 speed. So there you go, that's down is on. So all of these switches, down is on. And then you've got right hand side of the keys, side lights, as you can see the clusters lit up, and main lights. You can just see them on the Mercedes in front. And then on these, as you may know, there's a little button under your left foot, which click that button, that's high beam, low beam, high beam, low beam. Step 1 is just the fan. It always makes noise. There we go, when it first starts up, so just, if it makes that noise, just click it off and click it back on again. We've tried all kinds of things to stop it from doing that. I've managed to find a way of doing it yet. That's just blowing cold air out through the system, so if that was in the summer and you just wanted a gentle breeze, so you've got the selections again. I don't know if you can see very well. I'll tell you what, I'll come back and do this with a torch. 2 seconds. That's a bit better. Back with the torch now. So you can see down here you've got a selector. The top one is for the car. It says car around on this right hand side. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you can see it there. So with that lever up to the top, that's putting air out of this this hole here down into the car, and also out of this tube here for the passenger footwell. You can see that. I don't know if you can see that very well. And then if you put it into the centre, difficult to do, holding the camera, and there we go, centre, and the keys are in the way. That's on the screen, so that shuts the flap here and pushes all the air out to the vents on the screen. There's not a massive amount comes out, but with the warmth it does. And then if you want that off and completely blanked off to stop the draft coming through, you just push that all the way down. Hopefully you can see that. And what I was going to show you, now that we've got the torch, is the 2 pedals. So you haven't got a clutch pedal anymore, there's just a little hole in the carpet. So you can see the switch for the high and low beam there. You've got your brake pedal and your accelerator pedal. Make sure that you haven't got your foot on the accelerator pedal when you first start the car up, because if it's down, the car won't move because it's not sensing a throttle off. So just make sure that when you start the car up, you've got your foot off. Normally best to keep it held on the brake. And that's really all there is to it. And then to turn it all off, it's just the reverse of what we went through before. So it's just, it would be normally on there, and then you just turn it off. Oh yeah, let's have a look at the charger. So the charger is where the charge port is where the petrol filler flap used to be, well, the petrol filler cap. And we've made it again look as much like it did before. So it's literally just a case of pulling that off. That's a rubber cover to make sure that stays on. It's a good tight fit, but just give it a tweak to the right or the left, and then that just holds it on a bit better as well. And then that is your type 2 port. I'll grab hold of a charger now just to show you how that works. And as if by magic, I now have a charger. So type 2 charger, so that looks the same as that, and it literally is just a case of putting it on. That's slid on, just make sure it's nicely bedded in and straight, and then that's it. And then it'll start charging. The way to tell that the charger's working is you'll hear a fan noise from the back because the actual charger is under the car there, that silver unit in amongst the seat, and you can see there's a little fan and you'll hear that fan whirring. So that's about it. And with that, it was all done. Looks easy when you put it into a few video clips. So to come towards the end of things, this is just a walk round of the van, just really showing any interesting stuff. So you can see underneath that the rear battery box doesn't hang down any further than the number plate. So kind of it's actually less size than the original fuel tank. As I already pointed out to you, the charge port is where the fuel filler would have been. And then if we go around the front, it's got its relocated wiper. It's got its front battery box housing 6 of the modules with its 12-volt battery in there, then a 12-volt battery distribution block on there for the different components in the car. As you can see from the front, you can't really tell any difference. Still got its standard wiring and fuses in there from when it was a petrol van. And then when you look inside, you can't really tell that it's electric. The wooden floor covering over the top of the rear 2 battery boxes, can't see anything at all there. The keen eye might see the extra lever on the left hand side of the steering wheel. Probably about the only thing that gives it away. That control center with all of the fuses and the control boxes and everything in folds up out of the way, so you don't see that when you get in it. So I record this before I've actually seen the Bangers and Cash TV program, so I don't know whether Derek saw anything. There's another Morris Minor that we're currently building at the moment. So all that hard work to kind of hide everything that we do. So just about everything is hidden out of the way so that it looks like a standard van. This is it with the floor off, so you can see the actual metal tops of the boxes. So it's not just wood on top of those boxes. Those are bolted down and sealed. And just a kind of another quick look around the front, just because she's such a gorgeous van. So that was all of the things that we did to it. I think one of the hardest things is hiding everything that we do and making sure that the van doesn't look any different to how it did in the first place. Sounds a bit odd to say that. Anyway, I thought it would be fun to show you how quickly it accelerates from 0 to 40 mile an hour. So here's what it looks like and what it sounds like. Pretty nippy, eh? So thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, all of those things. If you want more information, then please visit our website, which is www.kinghornev.com. There you'll find all of the menu pricing for the Morris Minors. We also do bespoke conversions of other vehicles you might have seen in the background there, a Jaguar now and again, a Mercedes, a Scimitar. We've done lots of different conversions as well as Morris Minors. We just have developed quite a few of the Morris Minors. We've done a van, a Traveller, a convertible, and we're just in the middle of doing a saloon at the moment. So yeah, please get in touch. Let's have a chat about stuff if you fancy getting a conversion yourself. And thank you very much for watching. See you next time.